In this video, I'm going to show you how to use SuperCube. So first things first, to create a SuperCube, I've got a couple of menus. Here's the first one, the SuperCube menu, which has a couple of things. You can see here we've got planes and we've got cubes. Control-Alt-P and Control-Alt-C are the shortcuts that you get. You can also find these through the Game Object 3D Object menu. So a couple of different spots you can pick them. So I'm going to do here Control-Alt-C, and it spawns a cube in the middle of my view. So first thing you're going to notice here are the widgets. Each of these widgets allows you to change the size of the box in a certain way. So these ones here allow you to change it along the X and Z axes. And then you've got, of course, ones for your individual axes. So Z here and X and Y. So it's really, really easy to resize your boxes and get them exactly where you want them to. A couple of other widgets that are really, really useful and tips to go with that. If you hold down Shift, you can see there that the gadget goes away. So that's a really good way of getting that out of your way and making the SuperCube widgets a little more accessible. You can also hold down Alt. If you hold down Alt, you'll see you get these eyes here, and the eyes allow you to toggle the visibility of the face. So this is really handy if you've got a face up against a surface and you don't want it to be rendering. So like this one right here, if I click on that, it's now invisible. You no longer have the draw cost for that, which is pretty handy. It allows you to go through and optimize your level a little bit extra. So that's cool. We've also got, if you hold down Control and Alt, this gives you kind of like an extrude sort of functionality to it. So when I click on one of these, it'll create a complete duplicate of this box, same settings, same materials, all of that, and it'll just put it adjacent to it. So it's not technically attached or anything like that. So it's not a traditional extrude, it's just extrude-like. But it's a really quick way to get additional boxes into your scene without going through like, let me reset up all the materials or whatever. So that can be really quick to do stuff with. So like dink, 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 there we go. So quick way to add geometry into your scene. Another thing that's really great to have, I've also got drag drop material stuff for individual faces. So I can individually set the materials on these. So, but this is only when it's selected. If you don't have it selected, it'll just go back to the default material replacement stuff. So if I drag this out here, you can see here, I'm attaching it to a side face. When I go to the corners, it will apply as the default face material. It'll apply to every face on the cube. So let's see if I can show you this. So if I go to, let's go with wall or something. So I can replace this material with wall. So I've got two materials on here at the same time. If I want to override, go to the corner and give it the default material for everything, this will replace everything except the specific face that I said this material is very specifically on this face. So I can do that, and that'll go on all sides. Okay, and you can see this in the inspector here under the faces. You can see I've got the bottom one is hidden here. That's the little toggle. The top wall, the top face has the wall material, and it doesn't list the default material because that's all the way up here in the materials. But I can clear this override and say like this is no longer the wall material. It just goes back to the default. But you get a couple of options there. It's really nice. That allows you to do things like separating floors from the walls and things like that. Just, you know, like setting a black top here, whatever. Gives you flexibility. Don't have to worry about like setting up planes for each individual material. So that's a nice little shortcut. Another thing that you can do with this, I'm gonna switch this to pedestal. All right, another thing that you can do with this is you get some UV options. So you can see here, as I do this, it doesn't stretch the material like it does with the default Unity cube. So this is really useful, and you get a couple of extra options to go with this here. If you look on the inspector again, I have wall UV type. So this is for the around the sides of the cube, and then I've got the top and bottom UV type. So I've separated those out into two different settings. You've got tiling and offset, so I can change how these tile. Like, yeah. I always confuse the top, bottom, and wall side. So yeah, I can change the tiling here. Can change the offset. So you can position it around if you need to move it around. So that's it happens more often than I initially thought, but I do have it. So by default, these are on world coordinates. You've got local coordinates. Local coordinates will use the model space location of the vertex as opposed to the world location of the vertex. So that can be very useful if you have a rotated cube and you don't want the UV coordinates to pay attention to the rotation location. I've also got unit, which will return to the default unity behavior, so it'll just take the 0 through 1, and this will stretch. So it can be desirable in some cases, so I do have it in there as an option. The funky one here, which is kind of interesting, let me put this on pillar, because pillar is the easiest way to show it. So pillar here is it's kind of like this vertical texture, and in this particular case, I just kind of want it to, let's see, I'll show you wall slide anyhow. Did I get, nope, I got that wrong. There we go. Yeah, so wall slide, what it does is it maintains the top bottom. So top bottom is always 0 through 1. And then it will slide the texture around on the horizontal side. So that'll allow you to just put like a top to bottom wall texture where maybe you've got moss on the top of it and scuff marks along the bottom. And so it'll always be on the top and on the bottom, and then it'll loop horizontally. So that can be really great for putting in some walls. So that's really handy. So yeah, the UV coordinate stuff. Another feature we've got here is the slice faces. Slice faces is absolutely fantastic. If I click on this, you'll see it adds in a whole bunch of extra vertices here. Splits everything up into little sections. And so this is dependent on the size of it. So as you drag it around, it'll just continuously add in new verts. And you can change the density for this, like fewer, more. And so that's nice and configurable. But the reason why you want to do this is if you're trying to do like vertex painting. If you want to say like you have some vertex painting tool and you need to set blend weights on the individual face or vertices, this will give you extra room to paint on. So I can sit there and you're like, there's a little path that goes down through here or something like that. Another great use for this is if you're doing vertex lighting. On mobile, especially, vertex lighting can be an absolutely fantastic solution to gain performance instead of the per pixel lighting stuff. And so having the extra verts here will then allow you to get additional lighting information on the faces of your walls and floors and stuff like that. So that can be extremely helpful in both of those cases. I've got another tool that I'm working on that's going to bake lighting into these vertex things. So this can also function as essentially an alternative to light mapping if you've got the right tools for it. So that's the slice faces option, and that's really handy. I've also got a couple of other things here. These two options, force new mesh and replace with boring cubes. Force new mesh will just tell it to generate a new mesh. It just forces it to generate a new mesh. Normally you don't have to worry about this, but sometimes like the meshes get hooked up together and they both share a mesh, something strange. Force new mesh will fix that. You just click on it and it generates a new one specifically for this object. The other one is replace with boring cubes. Now, the one downside, and this is actually a downside I have fixed, and I'll have a completely different video towards fixing this. Each box here, because it has all this extra UV coordinate information and these slice faces, each box is a completely new mesh, and so it adds a new draw call. And like I said, I have this solved. I'll show you in a different video. But if you want to replace it with the regular Unity cubes, you can just click on this, and it will return it to a default Unity cube. So this is the regular mesh. It'll batch with all the rest of the Unity cubes, and so that's great. If you want it, it's there. It'll do just fine. And you can of course undo that. So if you want a regular Unity cube, you can do it. It's up to you. You don't have to use SuperCube all the time with this. So those are all the really major features. I will show you more in a couple of other videos. And if you decide you want a feature or you think that the workflow could be improved, please just send me an email. I love to hear feedback. I'm always improving my tools, and I want to know how you guys are using this. So thanks for watching. I hope you like the tool and get a lot of good use out of it. Thanks.